With LG, life's good.
Advan, Yokohama.
Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, round 10 of 11 of the FIA GT Championship of 2005. The first of a pair of desert races that will see the driver's title decided in the blue-ribboned GT1 class. And as they sit on the grid at the Dubai Autodrome, 7 drivers covered by 7 points. That's how close this championship is, with 2 races to go. Championship leaders Andrea Bertolini and Carl Wendlinger. They drive the number 15 Red Bull Maserati MC12. In second place, just 4 points behind, Michel Bartels and Timo Scheider from the Vitaphone Racing Team, car number 9. Gabriele Gardel in third, Thomas Biaggi and Fabio Bobini in fourth.
One of the particularity of this racetrack, it's the sun, because there is a lot of wind and the sun comes from the desert, and at the beginning of the first few laps can be really slippery, so we have to be careful, and after a bit better.
Christophe Bouchou in the Certec Aston Martin, the pole sitter for the race, joined by Stefan Ortelli. Ortelli, one of the development drivers on the Aston Martin, and raced for the factory Aston Martin racing lineup in the Centenary Tourist Trophy at Silverstone, one of the FIA GT Series early season races. And you can see what Bouchou was talking about, sand being raised by the cars even up the warm-up lap, making it look like it's still a bit damp out there. On the outside, the front row, Mike Hasemans, Bert Lodge and Anthony Kumpen in the familiar yellow Corvette. So American racing adversaries, Aston Martin versus Corvette. And then Filipato with Peter Kutermann alongside him on the inside of row 2. The championship contenders all tightly bunched together ahead of the number 2 and 3 Ferrari 575 Maranellos. Mr. Storm qualifying in 10th place with Justin Keane and Liz Halliday on their first visit to the track. And problems after qualifying for the number 5 and number 11 cars. That's the number 5 Conrad Celine and the number 11 Labra Competition Ferrari. Meant that both of them have been dropped to the back of the grid for taking an engine change, and that will leave both cars with an awful lot of work to do in the remainder of the race to try and catch the front runners. They will start right at the back of the field. You can see them there on the tail of all the GT2 cars. But the GT2 Drivers' Championship already decided in favour of the Gruppe M pairing of Mark Lieb and Mike Rockenfeller in the 66 car. They now have an unassailable lead, but the Drivers' Championship in the GT1 category still remains to be decided. And that's not all either. The Teams Championship is alive. Vitaphone Racing leading that from JMB, their Maserati running rivals. But they have a 32-point advantage with only 31-point advantage with only 36 laps points remaining in the season. So the Vitaphone team certainly looking very strong for that. Gruppe M with 156 points in the GT2 title. Proton Motorsport, their nearest rivals, 39 points, only 36 on offer. That title in the GT2 category has already gone, as you can probably imagine as well. So cars completing the warm-up lap with Bouchou and Ortelli's Aston Martin DBR9 run by Certec Motorsport for Russian Age Racing, the so far, well, first and currently only front-running international racing DBR9 in customer hands. The Corvette lines up alongside the 2 Red Bull Maseratis, and then the 2 Vitaphone Racing Maseratis. We are ready to get the race underway. and see if there will be some decisions made in the championship here. It seems unlikely that the GT1 titles can be decided before Bahrain, but nothing is impossible in sports car racing. As they take the green flag, it's Christophe Bouchou that leads Mike Hazemans in the Corvette, as immediately the Vitaphone racing cars trying to get in amongst the Red Bull machines, and clouds of sand raised up into the air by the vortices as the cars run over the parts of the track that are not right on the racing line. There is one of the difficulties with this track. It's in the heart of the desert, of course, sand blown in by every gust of wind, and it needs to be cleared. And already on the first lap, a clash further back, two cars have gone off, seemingly without major difficulties. They looked as though they were both coming back on. Well, the early race lead with Christophe Bouchou starting to ease away from Mike Hazemans into this second lap. Philip Pater in third place, Andrea Bertolini in fourth in the 16 and 15 Red Bull Maseratis. Lead Vitaphone car is the number 9 car. That is, of course, Michel Bartels, and the 10 car behind him, their sister car, Babini and Biaggi's machine. Dropping back a little, Andrea Montermini is the next man up. Manu Collard looking strong in a rejuvenated GT2 category here. More entries, and there's a couple of G2 cars, well, a G2 and a G3 car with a Ferrari 360 Modena for husband and wife duo Jonathan and Karine Sicard and Ange Bard, and the Vertigo Streff. Early race clash, lap 6. On the outside is the number 11 Pedro Lamy Ferrari, coming off just a little bit the worst there for the clash with Jean-Denis Delatraz and Andrea Piccini and the GPC Sport 575. Mark Lieb leading Manu Collard with Luigi Mocchia, the perennial third place man in the Porsche battle. But the two Gruppa M cars running nose to tail out front. The 88 car chasing the championship winning 66. The 88 car, Gruppa M's own car, 66. A factory built car loaned to the team for the series. And out front and comfortably moving away, Christophe Bouchou in the Aston Martin. And doing an excellent job for the Aston Martin and ProDrive operation in enhancing this car's prestige among its potential Middle Eastern clients. Hazemans hanging on there in second place, with Andrea Bertolini in the first of the Maseratis, also working his way through the back market traffic, just a couple of moments ahead of Philip Pater. Lap 15, the Adam Lacko, Franz Conrad Celine, number 4 car spins. Lacko combining European Truck Cup action with World Touring Car racing, and now a spotted GT racing as well. Lap 16, Christophe Bouchou still leading the race comfortably from Mike Hazemans. Bertolini and Philip Pater, his teammate, now being reeled in by the Vitaphone racing cars, closing right in from behind. Then Justin Keane in the Lister Storm with ex-Lister driver Jean-Denis Delatraz. We already we saw him earlier biffing Pedro Lamy off track. Delatraz really with the bit between his teeth, tucking right under the tail of the Lister. Well, that's the battle for 8th and 9th positions. Lister still just out of touch with the ultimate front-running cars, the Maseratis, the Corvette, and of course the race-leading Aston Martin. And still the Maseratis battle on. Michel Bartels diving down inside Pedro Lamy, and that is to take 6th position back. Lamy from the back of the field, don't forget, after the engine change, bringing the Labra car right up into the lead group. And the battle is definitely on. Well, the other car that started at the back, the number 5 Conrad Celine, is already in the pits with transmission troubles, so clearly their race is not going to be a happy one. But Pedro Lamy doing stunning work on the opening stint of the race, coming right through the field, and within 20 laps he is in the lead group, and again battling with Timo Scheider, slots into 6th position ahead of the number 9 car. And there are more moves afoot as Scheider drops down behind the back markers. Look at this, a dive up the inside of Philip Pater's car, and that moves Babini up. Well, Babini looking very racy all of a sudden, 20 laps in nearly, and he's up into 4th position. Lamy too making moves, battling himself for 4th place, in amongst the 4 Maserati MC12s. He gets in front of the 3rd of them. Just 1 remains in front of the Ferrari 550 Maranello. The Ferrari 550 won this race last year with Gabriele Gardel. And Gardel, this year a Labra driver, has won 2 races in the Ferrari, both with Pedro Lamy. Well, starting at the back of the grid after an engine change, he won't have fancied his chances much, but I bet Gardel, watching all this action on the pit wall monitors, will be absolutely revved up and ready to race by the time the first hour pit stops get underway. Race leader still the Aston Martin from the Corvette. And there is the Conrad Celine with the Proton Porsche, but here comes the 5-way battle for 3rd, and it's Lamy on lap 25, dive bombing down the inside to take that 3rd place. So there seems to be little that any of the Maseratis could do about the Ferrari 550. The Maseratis carrying, of course, extra restrictions late in the season here after the FIA decided their performance was just still not quite at the right level. They've been hit with further restrictions, and you can see how that's affected them. They are all battling within the same couple of yards of tarmac of each other, but the Aston Martin, the Ferrari and the Corvette have all eased away. And of course the temperatures here as well, not hindering the Corvette much. We've seen it work so well in hot temperatures in US races and hot temperatures in the FIA race. It's had no problems either. Big slide there for the Aston Martin, and Bouchou ends up facing the wrong way in traffic. Dramatic moment for Bouchou. And Pedro Lamy, fastest lap of the race, currently lying in 3rd position, trying to catch the race leaders. Sand in Dubai, it seems, catching the great and the good out. Manu Collard in the 996 GT3 Grupper M88 car, facing the wrong direction. Lap 27, no damage, but that ends a race-long battle with the 66 car. They were nose to tail right from the start. In fact, the spinning Russian age car was not race leader Christophe Bouchou, it was the Fomenko Vassilia Ferrari harmlessly gyrating in the tail end of the GT1 field. But as the 88 car gets its act back together, the Maseratis are tramping on, trying desperately to catch Pedro Lamy. Lamy now in 3rd place, Bertolini in the Red Bull car, Babini in the number 10 Vitaphone car, Pater and Bartels in team order chasing along. Pit stop for the 16 car, Peter Kutermann taking over from Philip Pater in the number 16 Red Bull MC12. 28 laps gone into is Stefan Ortelli in the Aston Martin. Well, this, of course, the race leader taking over from Christophe Bouchou, and that meant that the number 6 car would get its turn in the lead, the Corvette C5R. Well, the Corvette not without its successes this year. It's won twice. Maserati have won 4 races. The Ferrari 550 Maranello 2 races. And Aston Martin's DBR9 run by the factory team so far with a single win. Yet to win the Russian Age Racing Surtec car. 30 laps into the race then. Hazelman's battling with Gabriele Gardel, the number 11 car. With Gabriele Gardel's number 11 car, driven by Pedro Lamy from the back of the grid. And Gardel taking the battle to the Corvette for the lead of the race. In fact, Pedro Lamy still at the helm at this stage, catching right up with the Corvette. And after compensating for one technical problem with the car, which caused the engine change and made them start at the back of the grid, Pedro Lamy brings it all the way to the front, putting in the move that sees them overtake the Corvette for the race lead. So from last to first, the Maseratis now peeling in and out of the pits to complete their scheduled pit stops. The Corvette and the 550 Maranello both able to go just a little longer. There is our 89 JMB racing car of Andrea Garbagnati, Lorenzo Case and Albert Fontourne and Taxis, running just outside the top 3 in GT2, as the Vitaphone cars 9 and 10 both make their stops. Fabini's handed over the 10 car to Biaggi, a little bit of a trouble getting away, but off he goes. And at this stage, the Corvette being hounded by the Aston Martin, the number 11 Ferrari with another problem, running low on fuel. Pedro Lamy having to creep round to the pits very slowly indeed to try and keep their race back on track. 33 laps in, Hazeman's leading. Stefano Ortelli in the Aston Martin in second place. Bertolini Wendlinger's Maserati MC12, the number 15 Red Bull car with Carl Wendlinger up, that's in third position. And the number 9 Vitaphone car, Michel Bartels and Timo Scheider. Bartels now at the helm in fourth place. The battle for the lead definitely coming alive. And the battle behind as well, giving chase. The second pack. Two Maseratis slipstreaming each other as the lead battle continues. Of course, during the pit stops, cars out of their normal sequence. 17 with Ortelli and Longin just behind now. The strobe lamps there on the flashing system of the Aston Martin high-tech awareness system, if you like, to try and really attract drivers' attention when you're coming up behind them. Well, here is the Spiker C8 Spider, the GT2 class car, and Donny Krevels at the helm, showing the car with Mino Kuss and Jeroen Bleekemolen. Spiker, after a number of abortive attempts, really trying to get this car to perform the way that they think it should with its aluminium chassis. A unique car in this field. Handcrafted and riveted. It's got a very aerospace look to it up close, befitting its heritage. Trouble for the number 15 car. Carl Wendlinger tangling there with traffic, and through goes the sister number 16 car before the Maserati gets a chance to rejoin. Michel Bartels now in the number 9 car, taking over from starting driver Timo Scheider and lying in third place, best placed of the Maseratis. He's got plenty of clear air behind him and plenty of clear road in front of him. Time to really try and work some magic behind the wheel, despite those weight and restriction penalties. And the Corvette still motoring on, working very well on its Pirelli tyres in this heat. 17 car, of course, with Stefano Ortelli now having taken over from early race leader Christophe Bouchut. The Aston Martin looking and sounding superb. Trouble in the pits for the Conrad crew, and this time it's not the number 5, it's the number 4 car. Adam Lacko and Max Stanko will be forced to call it a day after just 47 laps of the race. Still approaching the half-distance mark, Tim Sugden leading in the Grupper M88 car, from Donny Crevels in second and Albert von Thurn Taxis in third place. The number 66 car suffering a broken heat exchanger. The identical problem put the 88 car out in Brno. That's the first mechanical failure of the season for the 66 championship winners, but all too late to allow their rivals a chance to catch. And as Ortelli laps the Aston Martin, here's Bouchou.
No, the car is fast for sure, but in the end of my hour, the Corvette was coming back on me, and it was really hot inside, but the car still fast, and it will be not so easy because we have also a problem of consumption compared to the Corvette, so we hope we have not to do a splash end of the race. If not, normally we are faster.
So the Aston Martin perhaps a little thirsty on the fuel, perhaps not so much thirsty on the fuel as the way that the Corvette, as we've seen in previous races, is so miserly with its fuel. A very abstemious and still very powerful Corvette engine allows this car, yellow number 6, to go further on its fuel than anything on the grid. Bas Linders in trouble in the pits with the Vertigo Streff, sharing with Renault Coupens and Vanina X. And the Belgian racing team bringing the easily identifiable Streff out here, but suffering, it seems, with overheating problems. Ortelli's Aston Martin still lapping strongly out front. Bertlonge now 25 seconds behind, ahead of Bartels, Wendlinger and Biaggi in their Maseratis, then the Ferrari 550 that led early on. Tim Sugden still leading the GT2 class in the Grupper M car, but it's the Russian Age Racing Maserati of Aston that leads overall. 53 laps into the penultimate FIA GT race of the season, and Stefan Ortelli in the Russian Age Racing Aston Martin looks as though he's on target for Aston Martin's second FIA GT win of the season after the factory cars won the Centenary TT at Silverstone. 25 seconds now ahead of the Corvette C5R, and unless the rather feared splash and dash towards the end of the race that Christophe Bouchou mentioned might be necessary does take place, then the Aston Martin certainly has the opposition beaten on pace. But if it is drinking too much fuel to produce this speed, they may yet have to go in for a late race fuel stop, and suddenly every second of their advantage will be absolutely critical. No chance now of them letting off the pressure, because the Corvette, we know, is fast and fuel efficient. And there it is, Bertlonge doing the middle stint in second place, but he has got a Maserati for close company. It's Michel Bartels who is closing in, now less than the 4 seconds behind that he was at the beginning of the previous lap, and Carl Wendlinger in the 15 car, fresh from his earlier spin, is up in 4th place, just a couple of seconds further back. And coming up behind the Vertigo Streff is the race leader, and soon he has got company right on his back bumper. The 16 Red Bull car in front of the lead group, and there is the 15 car on the back of the shot, just coming up behind the 88 Grupper M Porsche that leads the GT2 category. The Vonka Racing Porsche in trouble, and as the driver bails out, the safety car almost inevitably perhaps fails to pick up the race leader. Well, he picked up somebody in a car. Oh dear, and the Czech team have lost a left rear wheel. Hasn't got far. Mind you, I wouldn't be going to get it either, no. Very sensible thinking. Jan Vonker sharing with Manfred Juras, and the Austrian driver safely over on the side of the circuit. He's not going to bother to reunite his car with its tyre. Somebody else can do that for him. Safety car out then, and this really plays into the hands of the Aston Martin that leads the race. If there were any questions over its fuel efficiency, then the longer the safety car stays out, the less those questions are likely to need answering. Well, it's not the world's most friendly way of dragging a disabled three-wheeler off the circuit, but it does seem to be working. Now let's hope they remember that there's nobody in there with their foot near a brake pedal. So while the track workers rescue the abandoned cars, somebody will have to get on the radio and remind the safety car driver exactly what a leading GT1 car looks like. It's not an old orange Porsche. Alexei Vasiliev now taking over from Nikolai Fomenko. And of course, in their Ferrari, they're without their regular help of Christophe Bouchou. He is racing in the team's Aston Martin and leading this race as well. Vonker Racing cars, deposits of sand and muck being swept up there. Do we have our race leader in the queue? Yes, we do. Safety car has cycled them through. It's got the Aston behind it. So, is this well placed enough to allow some canny pit work? It would seem that that would be the case. 57 laps in. Certainly the Russian Age Racing Ferrari went into the pits, and on lap 58 Bert Longin is in, handing over to Anthony Kumpen, and it's full service. Fresh Pirellis are ready for the final stint, and there's no question that they will take the time to brim their tank. Fuel hoses safely off, the two-time men on either side go to work. Just fronts? No, fronts and rears. And despite the temperatures and the sun, everybody in their full fireproof gear to make sure they don't get any penalties. There is the lead order then. The Aston Martin ahead of three Maseratis, the number 11 Ferrari that started at the back, and after its fuel stop back in the queue in sixth place is the Corvette. But everybody ahead of them still needs to make a stop. So Anthony Kumpen good to go for the rest of the race, ready for the final stint in the Corvette. And behind them, Piccini leading the 575 Cruise. Here is the Aston Martin then, from behind the safety car. And with just two drivers, Mortelli jumps out, the seat comes out, and I don't think I've ever seen Christophe Bouchou quite so agitated, bouncing up and down on his little tippy toes there, ready to get into the car. Still struggling to work himself in through the complex roll cage. Now then, here is the number 9 car. Has Michel Bartels handed over to Timo Scheider, or will he stay in? Looks as though he has handed over to Scheider. Safety car still on track. Lights are out though. Last chance for a pit stop has now passed under safety car conditions, but in is the 10 car. Fabio Bobini taking over from Thomas Biaggi. They came in from second place, don't forget. Lights definitely out on the safety car, so they're getting ready to restart. The Ferrari 360 there in the queue. Albert von Thurn Taxis with Lorenzo Case and Andrea Garbagnati. And they head this queue. Two 550 Ferraris well up and ahead of the Maseratis. There's the Corvette further back. And as they get released on lap 61 at the green, there is the 550 Russian Age Racing Ferrari. So green flag, and the championship contenders a little further back in the queue as the slower cars immediately find the faster ones, trying to make some ground up on them as quickly as possible. Well, there is the Lister passing the Vertigo Streff, And the Spiker similarly dispatched by a couple of GT1 cars, just blasting by it in a straight line. Well, as always, once the safety car is released with a mixed field in front of it, it's going to take the best part of a lap, or possibly even two, for the cars to re-establish themselves ahead of the slower traffic in front. And there is our earlier spin of the 18 Russian Age Racing Ferrari. Semenko and Vasilyev's car in the pits. Oh, too late. No, the safety car's already pulled in. Dick Weinberg, the Dutchman, being strapped in. He is the third driver in the 16 car. Well, that was a shocking piece of pit tactics by the Red Bull team. But then this JMB car is not in the championship hunt, and the 15 car was their main concern. And that one seems to have had its service at the right time. Bouchou the leader then by a narrow margin from Kumpen. And there is the best of the Maseratis. The Vitaphone racing car currently lying in third place. So what can Bouchou do in the remaining hour? It's Frenchman versus Belgian, Bouchou versus Kumpen. Aston Martin, don't you know, versus the good old Corvette. Well, on outright pace, in the US, certainly the Corvette has got the Aston Martin beaten at the moment, but here in Europe, it's a very much more even-handed prospect. And certainly in the Arab world where we are at the moment, in the heat of Dubai, the Aston Martin may just have the edge on speed. Christophe Bouchou certainly starting to open up a gap after the safety car. Looking like he's the better part of 2 seconds ahead. But what about this story? Don't forget, Pedro Lamy set fastest laps on his way from the back to the front to eventually take the lead of the race. Gabriele Gardel has now done his stint, and Lamy back in for the final go. He is currently in 6th place, but he has again lowered the lap record. Lamy going quicker and quicker and homing in on the Babini and Biaggi number 10 car. Fabio Babini at the helm of the Vitaphone Racing Maserati. Well, without a shadow of a doubt, Pedro Lamy had the bit between his teeth in the first hour of the race, and he doesn't seem to have relaxed the pace much. This is definitely shaping up for a move, and Babini knows it as well, checking the mirrors, and then having to make the late defensive cut across the nose, but all to no avail. Halfway around the next lap, Lamy dives down the inside of the Maserati, and that is 5th place in his control. Let's take a look at that again. Pedro Lamy rebuffed once and having a second go, this time somewhere completely different. In last year's European Touring Car Championship finale, that was a well-used passing place, but it's pretty unusual for GTs. Pedro Lamy certainly making the most of the surprise element here. Short shoot down into this downhill left-hander, good braking area here, and Lamy just launches the attack deep and late, controls it superbly. Look at the hands on the wheel, one little wriggle of opposite lock as he got on the brakes on the sandy side, and he was on the line then all the way through. The Maserati well beaten into that corner. So Christophe Bouchou still leading from Anthony Kumpen. Timo Scheider now third from Andrea Bertolini in 4th place. Lamy up to 5th, and Babini in 6th place. And don't forget, although Pedro Lamy is not a championship challenger, the man he co-drives that 11 car with is. So again, all the championship challengers in consecutive positions on the racetrack, but none of them in P1. That at the moment remains with Christophe Bouchou and his teammate Stefano Telli's in the pits.
Well, pretty much sure because due to the safety car we could save enough fuel, I think, but the car is also quicker. That's why we are using a bit more fuel. It's been a good race so far. Obviously we had a little problem on the first pit stop, we lost the lead of the car, we lost the lead of the race, sorry, and I had to catch the Corvette back and passed him in a race. It was a good move, but I had to fight to take the lead back, and I'm just delighted that we could increase the lead. Unfortunately, okay, it's safe for the fuel, but on the other hand, we also lost 20 seconds lead because of the safety car.
What the safety car giveth, the safety car taketh away. They lost their lead, but they may have made their fuel window. Another fastest lap for 5th place Pedro Lamy in the 11 Ferrari. The Labra car's engine change certainly hasn't hurt it much in terms of pace, even though it did drop them to the back of the grid. So the lap record taking a pasting courtesy of Pedro Lamy. And some 6 laps later, Hasemans with his hands full. Timo Scheider really getting a hurry on in the number 9 Maserati. This is the battle for 2nd place. Don't forget the Aston up the road now. And Kumpen, as it is in the final stint in the Corvette, keeping his eyes firmly on the mirrors. We've seen that good defensive work in this car can really make a big difference. The Corvette has got great speed out of corners, great low-speed traction and drive, and that makes it very tough indeed to get the drop on him off a corner. You're going to have to pass him using better corner speed and particularly much superior entry speed. The problem that the Maserati has at the moment is that with its restrictors, doesn't seem even to have the top end speed that the Corvette can boast on some of the straights here. It's the long front straight that might be the undoing of the Corvette. Lap 73, still got that Maserati behind. And there's more closing in. Here comes the 11 car. Pedro Lamy with the number 15 Maserati still right on his tail. And slower cars throwing more dust up into the air. Here comes the move for 2nd. It's a strong one. And just a little rub perhaps in the pass. But it was a decisive move. The opportunity well judged, well taken. Great racing driving from Timo Scheider. Really seized his opportunity after many laps of pressure. And Scheider down the inside. The Corvette on the inside line, apex to apex, but Scheider judges it well. The Corvette drifts away, and Timo sees just enough of a car's width. Bear in mind how sandy it is there as well, but he has got enough grip to get away with it without just sliding wide and clattering into the Corvette. 9th place overall, and GT2 class leader Manu Collard in the 996 Gruppe M Porsche. And with Tim Sugden heading what looks like certainly towards their 4th win of the season to tie their teammates, but they have had more DNFs than the 66 car that is making its first retirement of the season here in race 10. That is championship winning form. So Scheider and Bartels in the number 9 Maserati, leading from Hasemans, Longin and Kumpen. Closing in behind though, the number 11 car, as Bush and Ortelli are a lap down after problems with the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin losing time, running off the track on lap 79 of the race. Dropping down the order to the bottom of a tightly fought top half dozen and gifting the race lead to Timo Scheider in the number 9 car. But there is the 2nd place battle, Corvette versus Ferrari. And Pedro Lamy seemingly unburstable here in his supply of energy, speed and overtaking prowess. And again, he catches the Corvette and passes it immediately. 2 corners, he was behind it, and then onto the start-finish. He makes the move there. Pedro Lamy in second place with an audacious last corner move. And you see in replay, Kumpen immediately thinking to repass. And now again down the stretch, trying to use the Corvette's great grunt off the corners. But Lamy's got him beaten under braking. Lamy understands where the Ferrari is fast and defends its weak points by using its advantages. He's in second now. Lead battle in the closing stages of round 10 of 11 of the FIA GT Championship at the Dubai Autodrome. The lead car is the number 9 Michel Bartels and Timo Scheider, Vitaphone Racing Maserati. Scheider, the starting driver, now up again for the closing stint. And Pedro Lamy, who brought the 11 Ferrari for the Labra team from the back of the grid following an engine change to the lead in his opening stint, is doing the same again. Not from the back of the grid this time, but up the 6 he comes. He's in second place by, well, nothing at all. Anthony Kumpen 6 seconds back. Andrea Bertolini, Fabio Bobini, all that is as nothing, as all attention focuses on the battle for the race lead into the closing stages. But again, Lamy has set lap record after lap record in this race. There is Michel Bartels, desperate to try and take another win. They need every point they can get to run down Andrea Bertolini and Carl Wendlinger, the championship leaders coming here in the 15 Red Bull Maserati. They're 4 points adrift, Bartels and Scheider. And if things finish this way, then that will be enough to tighten the championship right up. But if the Ferrari gets in front, they lose points, and the gap becomes closer again. 7 drivers with 7 points, and don't forget behind them as well, Gabriele Gardel, the co-driver of this 11 car, just 2 points behind Bartels and Scheider. And close misses with back markers like that, they can well do without. Lamy launching an outside move into the long downhill sweep. Is he going to switch back? He is not yet. Scheider defending with everything he knows. Problem is, this is a wide modern race facility. There's no place to run and hide if you can't run. Time ticking away. But the Russian Age Racing Ferrari now in front of the Vitaphone car. A race leader with a not very much slower back marker in front, and Bartels, closest to the camera in the cap, can barely watch the action. It's another Prodrive built 550 Maranello, but from a different team to Jacques Leconte's Labra squad, and Bartels' teammate Scheider really has to take a very calculated risk there, diving inside the Fomenko and Vasiliev car, but Lamy is still all over him. He got away with it there, but he didn't get away from Pedro Lamy, and Lamy now almost seeming to push him along. He's starting the overlap. Pedro Lamy through the sand. Now he's got filthy tyres, but by the time he gets into the heavy braking area at the bottom of the hill, down the short chute, he has got the grip he needs, and with it the race lead is for Pedro Lamy. Second position is the number 9 car of Timo Scheider. So Lamy from back to front once, and now a second time into the lead of this race, and this time perhaps he's kicked for home at just the right time. Lights flashing on the 11 Labra car. He's got the Maserati right behind him. The Corvette's back in third place. Pedro Lamy in the lead, starting to ease away. And for Gabriele Gardel, what a welcome moment this is, with his car from the back of the grid after that engine change, in the lead in the closing stages. And there it is. Don't be distracted by the 12 car like the cameraman Steve Zacchio, Jean-Luc Blanchemont and Vincent Voss. They're not going to win the race. Pedro Lamy may not be yet either. if Timo Scheider can somehow unhook him from that lead position. And don't think he won't try if there's even the slightest opportunity. The sun may be setting, but the championship is still alive. We'll have a different combination of drivers battling as they head to Bahrain. Nobody can believe what they're seeing in the closing stages here. Both teams on tenterhooks, and the drivers of the two cars now absolutely giving it everything that they can possibly muster from their vehicles. Lamy still with the sister number 12 car, worryingly ahead of him. Oh, but a mistake as they pull right offline and actually kick up a little too much dirt. That was thinking driving, but a worrying moment there. Gabriele Gardel not quite sure what was going on there. And in the end, he breathes another sigh of relief. Lamy continues out of the final corner, onto the start-finish grid, heading towards the checkered flag. Round 10 of the FIA GT Championship falls to the Ferrari 550 Maranello, the third win of the year for this combination of Gabriele Gardel and his good luck totem, Pedro Lamy. Well, don't underestimate Gardel's middle stint, but Pedro Lamy, worker of miracles. Often Jacques Lecomte, the Labre team boss, says the team has to work doubly hard following a driver's mistake. He said when the team made a mistake this time running the car out of fuel, Pedro Lamy repaid them in spades. What a race. Surely Gabriele Gardel can't have even dared hope for a win from the back of the grid, not against such stiff opposition. But this was surely one of Pedro Lamy's day of days.
We had the problem to starting back up the grid for changing the engine, but we had a wonderful race, and wow, Pedro did a final hour, crazy, really unbelievable. We are proud and happy to be in this moment here. Thank you.
Well done. See you on the podium.
Thanks, Michelin. Thanks, Johannes. Johannes did something unbelievable. All the weekend we had the best car in the track. Thank you.
And the final stages pass of the number 9 car, Michel Bartels and Timo Scheider, in the end might be very important for the championship.
Well, if you consider the penalty in the car, weight-wise, with 150 kilos, I think we did a race without any mistakes. We did the right timing for the safety car. And I think it was a very great job of the team to prepare the cars with this handicap. I'm very happy. I didn't expect this outcome. Of course, we took some profit of the mechanical problem of the Aston Martin, but overall I'm very happy. The championship is alive now in Bahrain, but I think when you see the performance of the Ferrari in the last stint, you have to think about the rules in the championship.
Well, that's not for this year, that is for the winter. Meanwhile, there is the result. The Ferrari wins, 9 Maserati in second, the 15 car in 4th place, and the 10 car, the other championship challenger, in 5th, with Hazemans and Longin the only non-championship contending cars in the top 5. Well, here is our GT winner.
It was quite difficult at the beginning. We fight a lot with Marc until the end of the first stint, and then when team came in, they start to get problem with the car, so it was easier at the end.
And they, of course, their teammates in the 66 car. The GT2 winners then, Manu Collard and Tim Sugden.
They won the championship, but it'd be nice to win more races than them, so at least we can fight for that at the next one. We don't like to win like this, but we'll take them whichever way they come.
Well, they've lost more than a couple of races out of mechanicals. They've lost 3, in fact. So the championship then tied on 71, Bertolini and Wendlinger. Bartels and Scheider 1 adrift, as is Gabriele Gardel. Babini and Biaggi only 8 back. So 7 drivers, 8 points, 1 race. It all goes to Bahrain. What can we expect? GT2 winners on the top step of the podium. Well, a fantastic result again in Dubai. Lieb and Rockenfeller, the championship winners in GT2 from Collard and Sugden. But they win and they will go to try and win again. And our overall winners, Gabriele Gardel and Pedro Lamy. A fantastic result for them, and the championship stays alive until Bahrain then. Bye for now.